I'm running.
Hey,
I couldn't. Hey, you doing all right, man? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you fine.
I couldn't get my camera to work for the likes of me. It kept, so I got on my laptop thing, but so I'm late. Plus, I had to just got home from work and blah blah blah. Oh, I hit the live button. So, guys, if you tuned off, tune back in. I was in a hurry. I hit the live button. I can hear you. You can hear me.
Yes, sir.
Alrighty, and you're in Fairbanks now, right?
Anchorage, actually.
Oh, you went to Anchorage. Okay. So, guys, this is Brian, and I think I put the title. We're gonna hear your side of the story. I know I put that part on there, and when I Google your name, it comes up with the Bud and Breakfast idea. That must piss some people off, and other people want to book a ticket right away. I wanted to book a ticket right away.
Well, we actually had really good reception for it. We get a lot of echo from your speakers.
Let me. You know what it is? Let me turn off YouTube. Yeah, how's that? Better?
Let's check it. See. Yeah. No, still have it.
Yes. Oh shit. Okay. Oh, I know what it is. I'll unplug this. How about now? Better?
Okay, let's try it.
All gone? Better?
No, you're still there.
Okay, let me change my speaker. See, that's why I wanted to come on. I asked you to come on early. What do I do?
You might need headphones or something like that.
No, I can fix it. It's 1 second here. Just give me a minute here. Damn it. I'm sorry anybody's listening here.
We'll get it. That's technical difficulties before.
Yeah. Is that better? Is it gone yet?
Let's check it and see. Hello, 1, 2, 3. No, you're
hello,
still there.
hello.
Still an echo.
Because I don't hear an echo from you, and I don't hear an echo from me on my side. Do you have a YouTube channel going on to see this live? Because that could be it.
No.
I hear something in the background on you.
There's a TV on, but it's way across the room.
That shouldn't matter. Okay. I've turned off all my external speakers. I had you hooked up to a bigger speaker, but let's see here. Do you hear me now? How's it? Any better?
I can hear you fine, but as soon as I can hear myself.
Okay, how about now? Do you hear yourself now?
1, 2, 3.
I'm turning everything off. What? Yes, still?
Yes, I can. I can still hear it. Well, we'll just deal with it.
Yeah, I don't know which one it would. How about, is it gone now at all?
Let's check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a
now?
lot deeper. That's better.
It's a lot deeper. It could be. I'll turn the thing off. I had it running on an extra video on my TV. How about now? I'm out of tricks after this.
Looks like Ken. That looks better. That sounds better.
No
echo now.
You.
Yeah, I am not hearing that echo. Ken said, "Mute your mic while I'm talking."
Now I can hear you. Do you hear me now? Is it gone now?
No, the echo's there. Ken said, "Mute your mic while I'm talking."
Yeah, I could do that. That's the hard way, but sure.
Thanks for the suggestion, Ken. Okay, so just a quick update what we have. Yeah, it was a good idea. Unfortunately, we started a little late. We started in 2018, and with a very slow construction season here, we only had 3 months. We were only able to finish in August of 2019. And then, of course, in January and February of 2020, we had COVID hit. And we had the border closing in Canada and no tourists coming through. And investors get pissed off and they start complaining. So that's how this all started.
I think the echo should be gone now.
Okay, great.
I found an echo cancellation button. No?
Perfect.
All right. Wow, I found the right button. I'm sorry. So, You're getting indicted. I mean, you're getting sentenced soon. What was the date on that again?
May 3rd.
May 3rd. You got. I mean, it's time's gonna go by fast, and it's gonna go by slow for you. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
when did you get indicted? How long ago?
It was April of last year.
So, yeah, you're going on close to a year. That's actually fast in the feds. Unless they had been investigating you, maybe, or raided your house before the indictment, anything like that.
Nope, they actually raided the house on the day that we found out we were being indicted. We heard that there was something going on from somebody about a year before that. We had a state thing that was completely stopped, and one of the investors filed a civil litigation, and that and we thought everything was over, and then all of a sudden we were hit with this.
Oh, you thought it was over? Wow. If the feds peek their head in the door, they're coming in the house. They just might wait for backup. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was. It's we didn't know that they were actually looking at us for. Uh, we thought it was a state issue, and it ended up being more than that.
It can start out as a state issue, and a lot of times the feds will pick stuff up. I hear about people they get caught with a gun, but it should be a state thing. But the gun was manufactured, in a different state, bought in this state. If you trace it all back, and the feds will pick that up sometime. A lot of states they're overwhelmed with their courts and stuff, so they'll hand it over to the feds. Just there's a lot of different reasons.
Yep.
And you was telling me today about Alaska being the second state to have to decriminalize or marijuana. Is that how they say it now? Decriminalize or make it legal or?
Yeah, we were the second state to legalize recreational marijuana. We were actually it was Colorado, then us, then California. So it happened in that order, and we were actually the very first state to have medical legal since 1976. It was actually before that. It was not illegal. It was in the Constitution. It was ruled on several times, and in 76 there was a law that was placed legalizing, and then in 96 they outlawed it for about 4 months, and they repealed it because it was in the Constitution of the state.
1976. That's very early. There was a group called Normal National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Law. I heard about them in the 80s, and according to them, no state had been legal for medical or anything. That's interesting.
But and it was we never had and we still don't have a medical dispensary. We have retail stores. We have adult recreational retail, but we've never had a medical dispensary. What happened was they decriminalized the possession of 6 plants. You were allowed to have 3 plants that were up and coming, and 3 plants that were seedlings, and 3 plants that were finishing. And that was the legalization that they had statewide. That was done from 76 on.
I'm surprised all the hippies didn't move to Alaska, in the 70s.
I guess they couldn't stand the cold because it was a lot colder then than it is now.
That's true. So yeah, that's interesting. So it being legal, what you got charged with, and maybe you want to talk about it. From what I understand, you came up with an idea for a bed and breakfast and a resort, and the theme being marijuana, all legal. And of course, when you want to start something like that, you're going to need investors, unless you're already rich. But even then, people take investors. A lot of people don't want to use their own money, so you go around and you're asking people to invest, and it sounds good to some people. They invest. COVID hits, and they make you sound like who's the guy? The famous guy that was taking it, but they make you sound like you scammed the whole thing, plotted it out. It was the long con game or something like that. And none of that's true, is it?
No. Actually, we have a pretty good mitigation strategy where we can show where all the money went. Unfortunately, it just the Fed tried to make it out that we pocketed the money. That's not true. We actually rebuilt an entire building. You can actually see it on Facebook. Anyone can look it up and
Sure. I did.
see the
Did I
process. And the process is there. We you can see where we completely gutted the building, restarted everything, and started back up from scratch. Um, we unfortunately it is a small state, and like you said, things happen faster up here. So we did see things move much quicker than we expected. Um, and then they tried to use my wife against me, which they shouldn't do legally, but they somehow did. I don't get it. But
They're famous for tearing families apart while they're indicting them, and they could have indicted you both and told you that you can't speak to each other, have any contact. I've seen them do that, break husbands and wives apart.
yeah, that they couldn't do, but they did try to do indictments for the same thing, and um, it's I don't know. I don't like I said. I was the public person that was talking to people. She wasn't. It's my responsibility, but it, it's funny how they want to vilify somebody that is just trying to make a living.
Yeah. What do you think started all this? Did one of your investors complain? So did somebody make a complaint?
Yeah, we have one investor, like I said, one investor that got a civil complaint going. He got a judgment, and then he decided the judgment wasn't good enough because he realized he couldn't really collect much quickly on it, and then he took that forward and got two other investors to go with him. One of the people that complained was well under a $20,000 investor. It was very small amount of money, and that was the third person. The other one wasn't. Um, the other two, one of them was the largest investor, and that about us, besides my wife and myself. Um, we have 51% of the company,
That's smart.
and we stopped at that just because we got the building and going, and then 2020 hit, and
Yeah.
they closed the border in Canada, and we're relying on the road system, and we couldn't get
Sure.
people in the building. In 2019, we have a little over 4,000 people in July come into the building, and
Good.
in 2020 we had 43.
I mean, that was everywhere.
Yep.
Uh, that investor. I mean, with the complaint. I mean, you would think, okay, here, just give him his money back, go away, right? But it's not that easy, right?
No, and he even had a lean against things and so on and so forth, and it wasn't about I guess it would be that easy if you were actually running something like a Ponzi scheme, But if you are trying to run a real business, you don't have cash flow. You're relying on trying to get what you build to get
Yeah,
up and
that's
running.
why you came to him to invest. I mean, hello, right?
Yeah. So
You would think the pandemic. I mean, everybody would understand, but it's amazing. I don't know how it happened, what it was like in Alaska, but here there was a whole week where you couldn't even go outside. If you breathe, they scared you breathe the air, you're not going to have long to live. So wear this mask, and if you touch plastic, it's it'll be the what do you call what was it? But anyways, it'll be on plastic for 6 hours and metal for four, and the virus and I'm thinking the dead are walking and now they're eating the flesh of the ones who are living still. I'm just waiting for that to happen, right? You know, and
we
it's crazy.
we, we have
How do you get a whole planet to stay inside? Like people were afraid to go outside. I in the end of the world. I mean, it slowly got better, but that one week, the whole planet was on lockdown. How do you pull that off?
yeah, it was almost 2 months, and up here, I mean, we rely on tourism,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
tourism didn't come back until 2023. So that was when the Canadian border actually opened, allowed people to come through. In 2022, they allowed a little bit of it, but you were only allowed to make one stop. And the Alaska Highway is 1,426 miles long. It's another 1,100 miles to get from the closest part of the United States to the beginning of the Alaska Highway. Most people travel about 1,500 miles just to get to the Alaska highway. So you're looking at 3,500 miles, at most people to get into Canada. And if you are retired couples or families that are working with motorhomes or people that are coming up to go through, and that's our demographic was those people. The 60s and the 70s crowd, that was the people that we
Yeah,
wanted to come in the door.
yeah, the baby
And
boomers.
yeah, and because they were the ones that really would want to have recreational marijuana, and we were looking at that. We looked at the bed and breakfast idea was to have yurts. We were going to do a 24-foot yurt
A what?
with
What is that word
a,
you're saying? Yurt?
a yurt. A yurt. It's a round building that's a nomad type building, used mostly in over in Mongolia and things like that.
Okay.
But
I've never heard
we
that word.
had yeah, it's people can look it up. We they have a glass sunroof on them, and being that there is a winter tourism, we had the idea of finding the Northern Lights because the
Oh yeah,
Japanese
yeah,
and
yeah. Nice.
Chinese the Thai crowd, Japanese, they feel if they conceive under the Northern Lights, they're going to have a blessed child. So
Oh,
we figured we're in the middle of nowhere. We have no light pollution. We'll put these yurts out there. We'll also allow medical marijuana or recreational marijuana and do an on-site consumption lounge in a large yurt, a 40-foot yurt. And we had the one investor, the large investor, he was going to build a phenomenally large building that made no sense whatsoever, but that was his idea with a 36-foot yurt at the top of it, like 2 stories overlooking the Alaska range. And when he came up and this guy actually came up and worked on the building, yet he told people there was nothing there, that the building wasn't there. We have pictures and video of him being there, everything else. He tried to say that,
oh, really? Wow. But and then did he take his picture with the Sasquatch too?
no, no, he didn't do
I'm
that.
being
But
sarcastic, because he
I,
says, "Wow,
I did have pictures of him walking out of the building. It's on
yeah."
YouTube. I mean, it's on Facebook.
How can you deny that? What was his response?
He said there was nothing in the building when he was there. It was his idea. It was.
But did you come back at him and, well, here's the proof, and then what did he say to that, or did he
Yeah, and
not?
that's when the state and his private attorney and everyone backed off. And yeah, he took a judgment so he would get his money back. And he said, okay, well, I'm not going to get my. And I think what he realized was when he did that, if we would have made and been successful, he would not get any profit because his dollars stopped where he had that judgment. And I think that's when he decided to do what he did.
It doesn't surprise me the nature of people, and the more, where they say absolute power corrupts absolutely, or money creates power, and just do you think that somebody else could steal your idea? Take this and get it in without any problem. Could somebody else step aside that had all the money and take your idea?
I have a
Would they?
friend. I have a friend up here that has something. He doesn't have that same idea, but he did start he has a restaurant attached to his retail and grow and extraction company. So he kind of went along that idea. I think it's a matter of time before we have a hotel, motel, bed and breakfast, and I heard there was somebody that was looking at using campers or buses and doing something similar to that.
Sure.
It's very, and what a lot of people realize is that campers look like a good idea, but at 30 or 40 below, they are no
Oh,
longer a good idea.
yeah, and they got to have constant electricity running, heating up. It's got
Yeah,
that costs money. Do you
and they're
think
not
when it's
insulated for
over,
that.
you've done your time, and let's say you get off the probation, all this, and let's hope you only get probation. We'll talk about all that in a minute. But when you're all finished, would you do it again, or would they even
Yeah,
let you?
yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, if there's no disqualifiers up here or drug offenses, they're not anything but drug offenses. So, um, but yeah, yes, it could be done, and yeah, it would be something that I wouldn't mind doing.
I mean, I'd be rooting for you to do it again, but I understand. Like, I'm not gonna, you know, I'm not gonna build another stadium and have them tear that down too. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna
Yeah.
start another dream just to be because the feds. Oh man, they're when they indict you. I did time with guys who had told me, I won my first case. I took it to trial. I won. Because I what are you here for? Then and then I said, why are you here? Well, they came back like 2 years later or 1 year later with all those ones that they dropped and ones they didn't even tell you that they had in the first place. And they did it again. I know a guy. He 3 times he took it to jury trial. They kept coming back. He won the fourth time. Pull that conspiracy card. That's all they need. The hearsay card, whatever it is. They got him on the fourth time. And plus, he's out of money. I mean, it costs money to go to court. Even if you got a public defender, you're putting up. Your family's going through it. By the time he won the third one, he said family and wife left. Everybody, they just left him standing alone. And that's when they got him on that fourth one. And I think he had to do 5 years. That's how the feds are. They'll just keep coming back. So that conviction rate, 98.2, whatever it is, if you're that 1%, you didn't win because until they can check that mark that they won, and they'll be happy with probation sometimes, but it's a win for them. They got to have the win.
Yeah.
And I don't know how upset they are with you, or would probation be enough for them to be content and move on? I know you're looking at, let's get into that. God, I mean, for one, I know what you're going through. Not knowing is got to be driving you crazy. How many times have you Googled your name and looked up your case in similar cases? How many times? Tell me.
Thousands. I mean, yeah.
And how many times have you done the math? Well, if I get this, I'm minus the 50% good time. And what if I get the first step back and I get this amount? How many times have you done the math?
Oh, dozens. I mean, yeah, they're asking for 36 months plus 36 months probation is what they're asking for. Are they going to get that? I don't think so. I hope not. I mean, there was a guy up here that did a straight Ponzi scheme for $26 million. They gave him 10 years. And that just happened last month.
Right.
But they $26 million, and he lost all of it. It was a straight 100% Ponzi scheme.
I don't know how many shows you've seen on my channel, but I was over 400 videos. There's about 100 interviews I've done with people right where you're at, right? Getting ready to get sentenced or right after the sentence they've talked to me. And I'm going to say 20-30% of those people got less time, and a lot of them were facing 1, 2, 3 years and got probation. I can find those certain shows and send them to you, and maybe watch and maybe listen a little bit different because you're going to try to hear what they did to get that reduced sentence. And a couple of them didn't really do anything. Just I mean, they didn't do anything bad either. But sometimes the judge. A lot of people think, well, I did my pre-trial. I didn't violate. I went to work every day. I didn't go out of bounds. I didn't do anything wrong. And they think that's going to really help. And it kind of does. But the same thing, it's not going to give you brownie points because the judge is going, well, that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
That's what we expect. So why do I give you a reward for something you were supposed to do anyways? And then some people think that, like, I fed the homeless. I did all that. I volunteered at AA and cleaned their bathrooms. And I did a whole lot of volunteer work. And the judge told me, well, that's what regular citizens do. That's what a good citizen does anyways. So what makes you special? Why would I give you anything extra for doing that? But then the judge also said, but I understand you did it to lighten your sentence. So that tells me, tells me a couple of things. Tells me at least you're willing to do it. You show me that you can do it. You did the motions. You did the work. And now you want a reward. Well, I could give you a reward. I could not. She gave me a long speech, but she took time off because I actually went and did it.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So you got that. Other judges just look at the case and they're human and they'll say, yeah, I'm not going to give you no 4 years. You're not a bad guy, according to the reference letters that they get. And the personal narrative, I think that's okay. But when you actually speak to that judge, they might give you 5 or 10 minutes. That's going to make a very lasting impression on the judge. He'll actually, once you're done finished, you'll see on they're taking it all in. It's the first time the judge gets to hear you. I mean, other than not guilty, Your Honor. Okay, well, the next court date will be this. He's never really heard you,
Sure.
and you've already pled guilty. So, you know, a lot of people make the mistake. They want to talk about why they got indicted, why they got charged. They want to almost plea to a jury, but you've already taken the plea deal. You're guilty. You got to stay away from that. I saw that in your personal narrative. You're already guilty. You're not going to change the judge's mind whether you're innocent or guilty. You got to move past that. It's like, yes, Your Honor, I did it. Now, here's what I've been going through while I was on pretrial. Here's the changes I've made, even talking with your family. Any kind of change you made for a positive, you tell that to the judge. Now I got to know my children so much more. I already feel like I'm a better father. Whatever it is, you tell the judge the changes you've made, and then you ask for some mercy. Don't ask for probation. Don't say the P word. Okay, he knows you want probation. They know that, but you've got to convince that judge that you're a real person and you're not really a criminal. Even you got to say, I did the crime, and I didn't do it because my grandmother needed me and all that to feed my family. That doesn't work. You just look. I did it. I was greedy. I wanted the money. I got caught. Now I'm really learning my lesson. Something to that effect,
Yeah.
And I don't mean to, what's the word, preach or tell you what you should say or what you. Well, I do want to tell you what you should say, but what you don't want to say is that I'm innocent. Then why did you plead guilty?
Mm-hmm.
And,
Sure.
and you
And
told them
like
you're
I
guilty.
told you,
Remember that. Even though you
and
might not be guilty, but you took the plea deal.
yeah, and like I told you, that what you read as like a 0.25 to 0.5% version of what I'm writing. It's not.
I understand.
Yeah, it was the very first. And you saw it about probably 15 or 16 hours after I wrote it. So it's going to change, and it's going to change a lot. I haven't had any input on it besides what a couple of people have read it, and I just started getting into where I am today. I haven't even gotten that far yet, and yeah, it's 6 pages, like you said, and it's long. But I've also heard of people writing 400-page books, and
So now you got to take a week off to read your book, or you're making him work.
This judge said that he'll read anything, so he actually came out and said that. So,
Okay.
So
some of them probably enjoy that. Some judges probably enjoy that. They get to know the person because they're going to make. They're going to judge you, and they're going to, sentence somebody to prison. I mean, that's a big weight on somebody. If I was going to do, I want to know all about this guy, but I don't want to give the wrong sentence.
Yep. And hopefully that's the way he is. I heard he's really compassionate. He is older. He's 75 years old. He's been around for a while. He was an appointee of George Bush. So he's been there many years. Before that, he was on the state bench, and before that he was a private practice lawyer here in town. He was criminal defense. So he's definitely been in it a while. So he's not a big school law school guy. He's actually an Alaska law school guy, which is interesting too.
That could be good. Yeah. Because Alaska's kind of the last frontier, but they've got an independence that makes them a little different than somebody from, Maui, California, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just like Texas, they have that pride. They were almost going to separate from the Union. It's not quite the Texas kind of pride, but you know what I'm saying? Alaskans are different than most Americans, I would say.
Yeah, and we probably have a better chance of separating from the Union than what Texas does. but yeah, it's that is something that's kind of unless Russia takes us back.
Yeah. Well, I don't. There's a TV show called Sliders I used to watch, alternate Earths and stuff. There was an episode where Russia was in control of everything here. There was one where we didn't win our independence against England, and they had controlled this. There was never a revolution. There was never civil war or anything because the England controlled it all. I don't know if you ever saw that show, but it was
Oh
very.
yeah, absolutely. I did, and the interesting thing about that alternate reality is that Putin came out last month and said he wants Alaska back. That he thought he was cheated out of it. So he came out last month and said that. So he's taking it to court. He said, I don't know. But
I did want to tell you when you do talk to that judge. I'd like to put it this way. Let's say you're a teenager again, right? And your grandmother's part of your family. I don't know if you have a grandmother, you did, but just imagine if you have a grandmother or you had one, and you got suspended from high school because you put I don't know. Let's say you put bottle rockets in everybody's locker and you lit them all up and you pulled down girls' dresses. You did all these bad things, right? And and they found out about it and they suspended you for the rest of the year, and you don't know if they're going to let you back the next year, and you told your family knows and everything. They don't know why you did it or what you did exactly, but your grandmother. You got to go you got to go tell your grandmother. She thinks the world of you, and she doesn't know all these things you've done. And you got to go tell, like your parents. Now you got to go tell grandma before we're even going to be back in there. You just go tell grandma everything you did, and you know what I mean. So you got to go up to her and say, "Grandma, I got to tell you a few things that I've done," and grandma has this one opinion of you, right? So what are you going to tell her? How are you going to tell her without? You got to come clean. You can't tell grandma like everybody else knows. So imagine that judge as your grandmother. You got to go.
sure.
You've got to go. You got to tell her what you did and what's going to happen. And they kicked me out of school, and I don't. My parents want me to go to some kind of disciplinary school, and they're going to make me go, and I'm going to see me for a while, and I don't know how long I got to stay there, and I did these bad things, and you know. And she's going to say, well, what are you going to do? Once you tell her, she's probably going to say, like a good grandmother would, well, what are you going to do different now? Are you going to stay this? You going to hang around those kids anymore that you do? She's going to ask you all these questions. Then you might tell her, well, I've already given up the friends, and, I'm doing my homework extra. I do all the extra credits for homework, and this, like, I want to say this to the judge, what have you been doing? And the judge might say, what's that school they send kids to? It's a disciplinary kind of school, reform school, right? So you're going to reform school. You don't know for how long, and you got to you got to tell grandma. And this is the way I say, talk to that judge. And you want to be honest, and you want to use your real feelings. And when you do talk to that judge, don't look around the room. Don't scratch like I'm got this Italian. And don't do what I'm doing with the hand movements. Your body language is going to count. Okay, the tone of your voice is going to count. Eye contact is going to count. All this stuff. That judge is finally going to listen to you. 3 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever it is. You need to show him respect, but you need to speak from the heart, man.
Sure.
And so I was going to ask you tonight. I know it's off the whim, but let's say I'm your judge or I'm your grandmother, and just a little practice run. You want it maybe, let's say it's sentence today, and I just said now we'll hear from the defendant. Would you like to try that out right now? Just maybe. Just to,
Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't we do that in another episode? Because
okay.
I just.
Yeah, it may be off the hand. I wanted to catch you off guard though, just to see, like, because the way you said, I don't know if I want to do it yet. You're gonna feel that way. You're gonna feel that way on sentence, regardless of practice.
Yeah, and I hear that. Except that I'm, like I told you before, I'm not that type of person. I actually am one that thinks months and weeks out, and last minute deals I don't do well. That's why I was kind of freaking out when I was even.
They could call you up and say we're going to sentence you tomorrow. After all, you need to be to court at 10 a.m. That could happen.
No, and
probably won't.
And ironically, today in my calendar was the actual day for the trial. If I was going to be to trial today, it was 8:30 this morning. So if I was going to go to trial, it would have been at 8:30 this morning. But so ironically, today is a milestone day because if I went to trial, it would have been today.
But it's good to role play that out and practice it. It's not that speech. There's 3 speeches you're going to say to the judge. It's the one you rehearsed, it's the one you should have said, and it's the one that came out.
Yep. Yep. And it comes down to it's. I wish it would have done a lot different, but unfortunately, bad times happen when they do, and all I can do is sit back and say what I've done um, is the past, and all I can do is the future. And I'm at the point even now where I'm like, I just want to get it over with. So it's um, but on the same token, let the probation officers do the PSR. Let the doctors get the notes in for my medical stuff. Let the
Have you done your PSR yet?
I did the PSI.
PSI, it's actually a pre-sentence report investigation, and they call it different, but it's the PSI, PSR, it's all the same.
Yeah, the when I get the PSR, and they're waiting for my defense attorneys and things to get more information to them, including doctor's reports. And I was at doctors all day today. That's why I'm completely trashed. So, my day started at 6:30 this morning, and I've been traveling all day.
Yeah, you look tired. We don't have to do too long tonight. I did want to ask you a piece of nuts that was like 20 pages long. They asked you everything from your childhood all the way up to all your every finance, every bank account you ever had. That's the one that you did. All those pages.
Correct.
So there's a couple of things a lawyer may not even know. So once you fill out your pre-sentence report and give it to your attorney, he has to hand it over to probation, right? Now probation will go through it, and what you don't know is they can add things onto it. They'll tell you everything looks good, and then they can add things on. They may bring up your sealed records when you were juvenile, things like, no, I'm saying they will add to it. And a lot of times, so they're supposed to show it to your attorney for a final approval before it goes to the judge. But they only do that if the lawyer asks to see any new additions. A lot of lawyers don't ask for the new additions or anything. They think it's good, or they forget. So I want to remind you, because you're supposed to have a copy of that, the final before it's sent to the judge. So remember to ask your lawyer for that final copy to see if anything was added on, and if it is, then he can challenge that with the prosecution and have it removed or anything. But a lot of people miss that part. Okay, so I just want to tell you, I want you to be aware. Maybe you were. Were you aware?
Yeah, I am. And like I told my attorney on Thursday, he tells me, well, it's too early because it's 2 months and 12 days out. And I said, Gary, it's not 2 months and 12 days out. Let's think of it being Monday, and let's find out if there's anything else that she wants to know, and let's go from there. Because they don't tell them in time. I had problem getting a hold of my attorney where I had to go to a CJA attorney in the firm, and say, listen, this is very close to not having enough counsel.
Yeah.
And I want to know where we are with this. And I finally got a call that day at 12 o'clock noon for 2 hours. And we're like, okay, well, and that now he takes my call, and we've been going through stuff and going from there, but things have seems to have changed. So I will stay on top of it. That's something I definitely want to do.
Did I do the classification level? Was that you I did one with?
No.
All the 10 questions to find out your classification level about where you're going to go to a camp. That wasn't us.
It's a camp. I mean, I'm a first-time offender and no history of anything at all. So
your age plays a big part. If you're under 25, they add 8 points right off the gate, and you need 11 or less to go to camp. And they're going to let you self-secure.
Yeah, and I'm on.
You have to ask on sentencing day if they sentence you to any time. Right then and there, remind your lawyer to ask to self-surrender. Believe it or not, when they're telling you, you're getting 10 years, everything's you can forget to ask to self-surrender. So ask for that.
Yeah, and I've heard that it's pretty much a given when you're on.
Oh yeah, it is. But I've seen people get remanded, or they forgot that part, and and they think they're leaving the courthouse, and then the judge, you have to. They can remand you, but normally They won't, but always ask. Okay, I mean, there's certain things that
Yeah,
sentencing. One thing you want to do, and you can request where you want to go, and that
sure.
should be done at sentencing day as well.
Yeah, we're looking at that too because I have family in one area, and my wife will never be able to come travel to see me. So I'm looking at the family that's in that one area to for an area that in a location like that.
Okay. Now, did
If I
you
have
have I sent you the information on the zero sentencing ruling that came out in November? Do you know about
no,
that one? You
no.
don't. Okay. So in November they passed a law, a federal law, for anyone that would be in category A or B on the sentencing guidelines. Basically, anybody looking at a year or less that has no criminal history.
Mhm.
It's, instead of them doing time or probation, I think it goes up to 2 years. But it's called the Zero Sentencing Act. If you just Google Zero Sentencing Act, federal Google sentencing, because they just passed in November, and they have to obey it. It's not a suggestion law, okay? So
Mhm.
people are getting they'll either get home confinement and probation, and they may get a 10-year probation instead of prison time. But Google that. If not, I can send you. I mean, there's
Sure.
Google it. You're going to have 30 different websites. It's just zero sentencing is all you really got to Google, and you'll see what I mean.
Okay.
You may wiggle in and qualify for that.
Sure.
There may be wiggle room.
Sure.
And yeah. So
Does anyone have any questions on YouTube that you've seen, or anybody on? I look
yeah,
at Ken.
yeah. I'm not seeing anybody in the chat room. I got it going on 3. I've been slacking on my videos because my job's been taking up all my time. I'm barely doing one a week now, and I need to get back into it. And I've been. You're helping me. You're helping me because I got to get back into like at least 3 a week. I mean, and that should be fine. But
Sure.
yeah, it's slacking. And you know what happens? YouTube stops the algorithms, and half of my subscribers are in prison though because they were on free watching me. But a lot of them have come out, and I've had people doing follow up shows that get out. But yeah, I've been doing these videos like 3 years, and I started during the pandemic, and I had all that time. I was making like 800 a week just on unemployment, sitting around getting fat, and I lost the weight now. But those days are gone. Just back to work, and I got to figure out how to balance my life. I want to keep doing YouTube. I want work, and there's a woman in my life, and have fun for me too, and all work and no play. Do you have any
My son,
questions about prison life? Going to a camp?
well, I do, and maybe that's something we'll address as I get closer to thinking what if I end up there.
Yeah.
But right now I think what I want to do is just um, try to get an idea of where I'm at in this 2 months and 12 days that are left, and then on this weekend just traveling. Unfortunately, this whole week's been, and then on Monday I'm having surgery again. So and Sunday is actually my 30th anniversary. So
Oh,
so
okay. Big stuff coming up. And tell me about the
yeah,
surgery. I mean, is it a major surgery? Are you scared?
no, just corporal tunnel surgery. It's I'm trying to fix my hands, and I'm trying to fix my hands so they actually work, and I get dental and stuff done before anything happens. So just try to get all that stuff done. I am making those plans. I'm looking at okay, there's only 2 months and 12 days left. Let's see if I can get everything done before anything might happen, just in case I don't have those capabilities. So
This is what happens on pretrial. You start learning how precious life is, and once you
yep.
get if you go to prison, you really realize how precious life is.
Yeah, I'm a little worried. I'm a little
You-
worried about not having, like I think I told you before, I have a bunch of fusions in my neck and things, and I'm a little worried about um, the pain that I'll be in,
right? Yeah.
and with only having buprenorphine and instead of the pain or edge of it that I'm on now. So
Yeah,
that type of stuff works.
I haven't heard of anyone getting. Well, they have to. They do Sebastian. How do you say that?
Yeah, that's buprenorphine. Yeah, that's
Okay. But they're not known for like OxyContin. They don't. That's not going to happen in prison. Anything like that. You would think marijuana is legal if you have a prescription for it. but not in the feds, not even in the
Yeah,
state.
that's even in my in my pretrial release. I can't use any marijuana at all in pretrial release even.
How about alcohol? Did they leave that one off for you, or no alcohol
Yeah,
either?
no, he didn't say anything about it, but
Okay, so
which
you
was
did.
kind of
They have
which was kind of annoying, because you could drink alcohol, but you can't smoke a joint when it's legal in the state. It's the same thing,
yeah,
and worse. And alcohol definitely got to be worse than
yeah.
uh, so. Um,
Right.
so
And I think there's cancer patients that really need the marijuana and glaucoma. And some of the really, it makes a difference in their their life having that. But yeah, they don't care.
yep.
Uh, did I talk to you? Was it you asking me about medical prisons, the MMCs? Did we
Yeah,
discuss?
yeah, we talked about it with and everyone classified in the same location. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
sure. You could be in there with Charles Manson. You probably won't be in his cellie, but he could be next door.
well, and that's my wife's childhood sexual abuse person. I think the biggest challenge to me would be being next to one of the child predators.
Me too.
So
I've said it on my channel. I was molested in kindergarten a whole year by a teacher's aide. Why the teacher went off to have their hour break. It was mainly me, but there's a few other kids they would pick. But yeah, so I have a very big problem with those people. You know.
yep,
Yeah, I don't want to get my channel shut down, but the low facilities are full of them, and if you even walked up to them nicely and said, "Is it true you're here for sexual events?" They'll lock you up and they'll throw
yep,
you. Oh, they're a protected species now. Oh God, I can't believe it. Just
yeah, yep,
yeah. If I had my way on sentencing them, I would. Nobody
yep.
would get off ever. They talk about what are they chemically? They take a pill. They chemically. What do they
Chemical
call?
castration,
Huh?
chemical castration.
Yeah, and I say just use a pair of scissors, okay?
Yeah, yeah,
Because that pill, yeah, that sure, right, yeah, that solves everything. I don't think so.
yep,
Kind of
yep,
like public hangings, but bring back have public castrations.
yep.
Let them scare them. Like they do in the Middle East, Dubai, all right?
Well,
You
yeah,
let
in Singapore. I mean, I used to travel all over the world. I think I told you that, but I used to travel all over the world.
their
And
capital punishment there, right? Is pretty bad, right?
yeah, it's life in prison for taking out a loan that you didn't repay for Maserati, or if you go to Singapore and you spit gum on the ground, they're going to cane you
Yeah,
in
they
the street.
cane you. No,
Yeah,
it's not your
yeah,
grandma's cane. It's,
yeah. Yeah, it's pretty serious over there for some.
yeah,
I went to Singapore. I did the Singapore Formula One track for the Wi-Fi on the track, and it was a whole different ball game taking my guys over there, and I put them through a month of training before I even took them over, and it's like, and you guys can't get as wild as what you did in Jamaica. I learned from Jamaica not to allow them to do what they did there. I put them in all inclusive resorts in Jamaica because it was easy to pay the bills when everything was paid. And I got 22-year-olds getting drunk and then going out and looking for stuff on the streets. And luckily enough that my drivers found them and not other people. And, but they could have easily ended up in jail in Jamaica. And it's a jail there is worse than any of our prisons. So
yeah. There's a guy that I know in Libya, and he's been on my show a few times. Because we have a partnership with him over there. We're helping those people coming out of that prison. The Wings for Life does, and he's told me the stories goes on in that prison. It's like 20 guys in a cell, and if one wants to turn, they all have to turn, and if somebody has to go to the restroom. Their restroom is just a hole in the ground,
yeah,
right? Toilet paper, they don't, you know. I mean, terrible. A lot of countries are like that.
yeah,
They get a cup of rice. That's it for the day. Maybe one in the morning, one at night, and the water's God. It's just horrible. That they have to drink, and it's really bad. So our prisons aren't too bad compared to that.
Yep.
There are people though. Some of these laws, you're talking the caning and all that. I'd like to see some of that here in this country. I
Yeah.
mean, there's people I get time with, and I'm glad they got 10 years.
Well, look at that guy that just put to death by nitrous. Yeah. Maybe that'll help
I don't
with.
know about this. Tell me.
Yeah, they used nitrous to sophisticate, and make the guy uh, suffocate instead of using it.
Oh,
And that was because they didn't have the drugs to give him the paralytics and things like that, so they suffocated the guy to death. That just happened. I think it was in Mississippi. I think it was Mississippi.
wow. Well, I know in the Western days there wasn't a lot of horse thieves when they had the public hangings. Just saying.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
In the states where the crime rate's lower, including here, because people are armed. I mean, you walk down the street, we have people that are armed walking down the street. It's completely legal to be out open carrying here. And we don't have a carry permit here. We're a constitutional carry state. We were one of the first of those too.
Okay.
And we that was 2003 that they legalized that, and we don't have no carry permits. The only carry permit if you want to be reciprocal in other states. And now most of those states are constitutional carry states that we were reciprocal with. So
I'm in New Mexico now. I'm from California, but I've been here 2 years. They have that same open carry law, but nobody does it. They have guns on them, and I've asked, well, why don't you just wear it? I mean, it's legal. They say because they don't want the hassle from the cops. They're going to run my name and they want to see my permit. But I said, if you start doing it, the cops are there. That's too much paperwork. But if you're all just going to hide them anyways, why have the law then? It's almost
they can't run you unless same thing here. They can't run you unless they have a suspicion that they have to run you. So I'm actually next to cops here when I open carried, and um, you know, and they will never. I've never seen anyone walk up to somebody in this state and go, "I want to see your ID to see if you're legally allowed to carry." And it's
you see a lot of people with wearing their guns. I haven't seen one
oh
person
yeah,
here. In the 2 years I've been here, I get supermarkets. I've never seen a person. It's legal, but
yeah,
I've never seen them have it. And they do. I wonder why that
yeah.
is. What do you think? Why don't they? Is it true? You think that's the answer why they don't wear them out here when you can?
A
What do
lot
you
of
think?
people go by the mindset of if it's concealed, I'm not advertising. Well, I tell you the other way around. If it's out in the open, people are going to think more than if you're concealing it because they know you're armed at that point,
Yeah.
and that's the way it is here. People know you're armed here, and they, and a lot of times here, I mean, it's even legal here for a 10-year-old to carry a pistol as long as it's not concealed.
Wow.
If they have a letter from a parent and they're legally and that gun was bought by that parent, it's legal for that 10-year-old to legally be able to carry it there.
Wow. You drive. You can't. He can't drive a car, but he can walk around with a gun. It's okay. But I would on a kid. I wouldn't want him to be trained though. Not just hand a 10-year-old. But not my law.
Well,
Um,
think about moose up here can kill you, and actually do kill kids more quicker than anything else up here.
okay.
There are 3-year-olds that are dying in sandboxes every year for moose.
Okay. Interesting. Well, I think I lost. I can't have a gun no more because I'm a felon. So did I lose
Well,
you?
you can't. No, I'm here. Sorry. Sorry about that.
Oh, no
But
problem.
no. You can, but it has to be a black powder pistol.
That's the what?
It has to be a black powder pistol. If you have a black powder pistol, you're legally allowed to carry it.
As a felon?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
A black powder pistol, a cap and ball or a cap and ball revolver, like a Cold Army, is legal for you to carry.
You sure that's just not in Alaska? Is that anywhere?
No, that's everywhere. That's all 50 states.
Okay. That's the old
It's
fashioned
not.
one. They had to put the stick in
Well,
it.
yeah, or even
It's anything
as
like
long
a
as it's a two-part component, like a cap and a paper cartridge or whatever, that's legal. As long as you as long as it's black powder and it's a 2-part cartridge. So that's you're legally allowed to carry a black powder. It's not considered a firearm
Okay.
legally. So that's
Okay.
part of
Oh,
the.
I got you. But I could see me. They're gonna they're gonna challenge me. But no, that's good to know. I
Don't be
feel that
afraid.
if
Don't
I've
be
done
afraid. Read the law.
my time and I finished my probation and all that, I should have every right, all my rights back. That's not going to
Well,
happen. That's how I feel.
and that's one of the biggest things that I'm going in that is going through my mind too. Because now that I'm looking at this, because I used to shoot competition pistol and rifle, and that was my only hobby. So now, what am I going to do for a hobby? Because I shot competition rifle. I shot 100-yard bench matches where I was shooting under 2/10 of an inch and 100 yards.
Archery, maybe take that. I don't.
That's going to be a little tough on my back the way it is, but yeah. But yeah, yep, that's about it. Maybe crossbow or black powder, muzzle loaders.
I like that. I like that.
But you know what? We're coming up on an hour. If you don't mind,
Oh,
maybe we'll do
yeah,
this
man.
again.
I was just saying, you look tired, and I'm tired too, man. But this has been great. Thank you. And I don't know if we touched everything you wanted to talk about, but I do know every time you do a show and anybody's show, like it's off. You get it off. You don't have to carry it around anymore. Other people know what you're going through, and if you do go to prison, let's hope you don't. But now you have other people knowing you would went to prison, and
I'm sure.
You're not alone doing it.
I'm sure we'll talk before then, and I'm sure that maybe
I
we'll do
hope so.
something else before that.
I hope so. I hope so. And if you want any more but before sentencing day, maybe we should talk just on the phone. I want to give you some more, advice and suggestions and things like that. Hear a lot of things from different people, but take it all in and just choose what you feel is best. Anyways, I'm gonna let you go, and you have a great night, Brian, and tell your wife thank you for letting you do this, and if she ever needs to talk to me about anything, she can call me. Okay. So, all right.
Sounds good, Sean. Have a good day.
I always suggest though anybody go. I'm pretty sure hug your family every day, even if you just had a fight, because you may be quite a few years before you get to do that every day. Okay.
Yep.
Let them know. Say you love them and hug them. Maybe that's not your way, but start doing it now because you'll know why if you go once you get to prison. You're gonna I should have done it. Okay, because they're part of it. All right, man. Have a good night. Okay.
You too. Bye bye.